Hey, what's up you guys? In this video we're gonna work on this tombstone in 3ds Max and Substance Painter, so please give this video a thumbs up and share this video if you will, and let's get going. Okay, so the first thing, in order to start working on this tombstone, of course you're gonna create a box which is gonna be a base that we're gonna work from. So create a simple box that have real life or real world scale, and then we're gonna use what we previously used in our tutorials, which is gonna be edge extrusion method. Basically gonna keep holding shift all the time, and you're gonna use the scaling tool and the move tool in order to actually build what you can see what you can see me creating here. It's gonna be something very simple, something that will be easy, but it will need some attention and some concentration and some focus in the beginning, but in order to get the proportions right and in order to actually create something that you will find interesting. Okay, so here we're gonna create some random shapes in order to actually create something interesting, probably an escalator shape, because we are kind of going from something wide and we're building up to actually reach a point where we're gonna actually create the other piece that is gonna be on top of this base. So as you can see here, this will probably conclude it, and since this is not a rectangular shape, or which actually which means that actually there is a difference in dimensions from width and length and width, it means that we're gonna be constantly using the scale tool in order to actually fix the scale all the time, but this should not be a big of problem. For now we're creating this other piece that is going to be on top here, as you can see, and this is going to be the actual board, or the stone board that is going to be on top, and on which the name and some interesting stuff we're gonna do in Photoshop and in Substance Painter will be written right there. And for this tutorial, I think the most important part is texturing, but modeling can be interesting as well. And as you can see here, this is not something difficult, but sometimes you're gonna have to fix the proportions if necessary. If you think that something is off, if you think that probably something is not right, you can always go back and change it if you want to. Okay, so here you can also probably find a nice height and a nice width right there, and you can actually change that as you please, because at the end of the day it is your design and you are free to do whatever you want. Here we are trying actually to extrude some surfaces, and in order to do this we're just going to create some two lines there in order to determine where these surfaces are going to be. I'm going to use the extrude tool, and we're going to go with local normal in order to do this. Okay, and we're gonna go probably with 1 centimeter or 2 centimeters. This depends on what you want, and it depends actually on what you're going for. And also we are gonna create another piece here that looks like it is part of a pillar or something, but I find it very interesting and I like it very much. So I think it's gonna have an impact on the design that you will see at the end when we actually reach the texturing part. Here we are trying to actually separate this piece into two halves, and we're gonna extend it a little bit because it has to be that way. So we're gonna select one half, then we're gonna extend it, and we're gonna stretch it to the other side, and the other half also is gonna be thrown to the other side as well. Okay, so this piece actually is gonna be simple, nothing complicated about it. It's just something easy, and something that that you can create very easily. But there are some details that we're gonna work on right now that will be interesting as well. So even though it's not gonna be difficult, it's gonna be a nice addition that we're gonna work on. Okay, so you're gonna of course keep holding shift all the time in order to extrude this surface, and we are going to make it wide on the top, because there is gonna be even a bigger piece on top. So since this is gonna be the case, of course we need some width on top in order to actually keep that other bigger piece in place. Okay, so for now we will see how this will turn out. Also, we'll use the symmetry modifier to bring the other half back in a nice way. So what we'll do is we're gonna select the edges that are gonna be in the center or in the middle, and then we will apply the symmetry modifier, as you can see here, and everything should be back in place. Okay, right now we're going to create the other piece that is going to be on top, and we're going to make sure that we are activating the auto grade, which is going to allow us to create that box on top of that surface. And this one here is going to be a little bit interesting, but it shouldn't be it shouldn't be that difficult to create, because it is something simple. Okay, so using the extrude, using the scaling tool, we're gonna do what we've done in the beginning when we started working on the base and also on the other pieces. And we are, as you can see, we are creating something that looks like this. Okay, as we move up, we will actually change stuff and get things done in a different way. So we'll start adding some edges in order to in order to actually get some things done. And we want to make sure that we're doing this right, because this piece also is going to be symmetrical as the other pieces. So as you can see, we're going to use the bridge in order to close some areas that we are done with, and this area in the center, obviously we need to work on it a little bit more. And we're gonna actually change the position of some of these vertices in order to get the shape or the look we're going for. Okay, I will try to actually stick with this round shape, but I don't like it that much because it doesn't seem right for me. So we're gonna go with something sharp and edgy, which is something I like, because for this case it seems like something round and smooth doesn't work that well for me, at least for now. So we will actually select these vertices and make them flat, and we're gonna bridge everything and try to cap all the open areas in order to get something that looks like this. Also, we want another piece to be extruded on top, as you can see here, and I think this is a nice addition, and it's gonna help us break the simplicity of this piece and give us something interesting. Also, you're gonna do inset another different set of polygons that you can see here, and this will allow us to get something nice, as you can see here. And we will extrude these polygons to the inside, which is gonna also help us add some nice little detail right there, which I find also interesting, because we will actually add some nice ornaments and some nice drawings and sculptures inside on those areas, which is also going to be fun. So as you can see here, I just reduced the height that board in the middle, because I think it was too high, and sometimes you're gonna make additions and remove stuff, and maybe adjust the dimensions a little bit, and it will be just fine if you think it is gonna be. Alright, for now we're gonna create some layers. So you're gonna open the layer explorer, and you're gonna add some layers, one for the high poly and one for the low poly. Why? Because this is gonna be in preparation for the process that we call baking, that we will do in Substance Painter later. And for now we're gonna work on the high poly, and we kept the low poly on the side because we need the high poly to have some support edges, because we're gonna use a turbo smooth modifier that is gonna smooth things out, and this is gonna be the case for the high poly. And for the low poly, we're gonna do the kind of the inverse, or a different thing, totally different, which is gonna be removing edges other than adding edges, which is actually necessary, because we need less and less polygons and edges, since the low poly is gonna be the piece that is gonna be thrown into the game engine. And in order for the game engine to run smoothly, we need actually a low poly model, rather than having a model that has probably tens of thousands of polygons or whatever. And this highly depends on the situation, and a lot of different elements that we need to actually consider before working on our model. Okay, for now, this piece here, it's gonna be no big of deal, just something, the old things that we used to work on. Adding the support edges is gonna be something ordinary, and I would say you're gonna learn how to do this probably from the first or second time. You'll be just fine. Okay, so you will keep doing this until we reach the point where we're gonna work on the low poly, and we'll explain some things when we reach that point. Alright, this piece here is a little bit different, because we're gonna have to take care of some of the issues here, because there are some vertices we can't leave them open like this, because I personally don't like angons, because they cause problems. Triangles and quads are acceptable, but angons, you need to actually work on them before you start adding any kind of things. Adding support edges on this piece here is going to be interesting, because there are some nice tricks that you need to work on. For this piece here, as you can see, things are extremely simple. Things that we usually do. There is nothing extraordinary about it. Everything is actually expected, so things should work for you. Should be working normally, and you will see something that we expected to see. For now, we're gonna bring the low poly version, and as you can see, the low poly version should be low poly. So we're gonna try to remove and get rid of the vertices and edges where there are flat surfaces. Obviously, if there is a flat surface, there's no need for having multiple vertices if they are not changing the silhouette or the overall look of our model. So also we don't leave endguns as well, because generally when we are working on the low poly version, things are going to be actually mostly triangles. We have to take control of this, because for example, let's just say in Substance Painter, things are going to be terribly misplaced if we keep those things to keep them to chance, and this is not something we want to do. Okay, so for now, it seems like a good amount of polygons right there. We don't want to overdo it, because we don't want to drive the amount of polygons to a very low amount. This is gonna be actually considered too low. There is a certain extent of polygons we can remove, and there are also different needs and different types of low poly models. There are those for actually, let's just say if it's gonna be for a weapon that is gonna be very close to the player. For example, let's just say a first-person shooter. This model is gonna be at least 10,000 polygons if we want something really cool. And if let's just say there is gonna be a prop on the side in an environment that the player is not gonna focus on too much, probably maximum you're gonna go for 3,000 polygons, I guess. This is gonna be the maximum amount, and actually it varies and depends on a lot of different elements. You can actually give a rule or any limit or any amount. By the way, it actually depends on the situation. Okay, for now we're gonna start UV unwrapping our model here, and we're gonna use one technique for the most part, which is gonna be box mapping, since this is gonna give us a nice result without doing a lot of work, and our job is actually to organize the pieces and also to stitch the different elements that are kind of scattered all over the place. And in order to do this, we're going to use a tool that is called Stitch Selected. You can right click on an edge, then Stitch Selected, Stitch Deselected, or you can just use the shortcut, which is going to be in this case Shift S from the keyboard. You can change it to whatever you want. You feel free to do this, and yeah. and you will use the checker texture, as you can see here, because it's going to be used, of course, to actually tell the size of our UV islands, and also it's gonna help you to actually see if there are any stretches or any actually distortions in the process of UV unwrapping that we worked on. Okay, we're gonna jump to the other piece, and it's gonna be simple like the previous one, but as we always do, we're gonna have to actually work on the pieces that are scattered all over the place. This is the main thing we need to do after we apply the box the box unwrapping method. Okay, it seems like everything is in place and we're ready to apply the checker texture. Okay, you can see that the difference between the sizes of the checker textures, which means that the pieces are not really in the same size, and this is a good indicator that we need to respect. Okay, now for the this piece is gonna be also extremely simple and easy to work with. Okay, and we're gonna do the same thing that you can see here on this piece as well. Something really simple, something the only thing we're gonna do here is just to organize these pieces, and we're gonna put the similar pieces close to each other, and this is about it until we jump to the other piece. Alright, so this piece as well is going to be another simple thing that we're going to work on. The only difference is going to have a tremendous amount of different pieces that are going to be thrown all over the place, and we're going to have to do a good job organizing everything, and we'll be just fine. Okay, we're gonna change the size of the UV islands a little bit in order to match the UVs, the size of the UVs, and for now, what we will do is we're gonna convert one of these to edible poly, and we're gonna attach everything together because we're gonna start packing the UVs together and create what we call the UV template, which is gonna be extremely important for later. So the purpose of what we're doing here is actually to put everything in one place, because we're gonna export it in order for us to do some texturing in Substance Painter and in Photoshop. This is extremely important there is no way around it or whatsoever. So feel free to spend some time working on it, and then export your UV template. For now as well, we are going to actually work on the naming process. So there is the low poly and there is the high poly, and we're gonna rename all the pieces. Feel free to use any names you want. It doesn't really matter. The only thing that matters is gonna be organized, and when a person looks at it, we'll know exactly what the heck is he looking at when he sees all the pieces in one place. And also, it's going to be really important for the process of baking inside Substance Painter, and this is the main reason why we are doing this. Okay, you need to choose a main name, and you need to actually add a suffix. The suffix has to have in 3ds Max, it has actually to have the underscore something, whether it be high, low, HP, LP, high poly, low poly. It doesn't matter what name you use. The only thing that matters is the underscore and something. You need to, and the word that comes behind, you need to be consistent, and you need to use it properly. For now, in Substance Painter, we're gonna actually right now import the low poly we exported from 3ds Max, and also we need to go open the Bacon dialog, bring the high poly version, and change some parameters here, the suffix that we were talking about here as well. And also we're gonna change some of the parameters of the ID map. We're gonna change the ambient occlusion parameters, and these are the most important things: the normal, the ID, and the ambient occlusion. I would say these three are the most important. Also, the curvature is important as well. For the most part, you're gonna change these parameters as you can see me doing here, and you're gonna bake it. And after half an hour or something, you're gonna get something that looks like this. Basically, what it is a low poly version that looks a little high, like the high poly version. For now, I use this smart material that you can see here because it is a nice addition, and it makes things look like it is really rocky or something. And also, we're gonna have to add a fill layer. We're gonna add a black mask and a fill because we really need we need to add some scripture and some ornaments and some sculptures, some interesting things that we will talk about in a second. And also, for now, we are adding the moss, or the dirt and the grass and the stuff that are going to be on the ground that will actually get stuck on the bottom surface or the base of our model that you can see here. So we're going to use a folder that is going to allow us to keep things of the effect of this layer limited. So we want it to affect only the base part. And in the fill layer itself, we're gonna apply some. We're gonna use a mask, a black mask, and we're gonna use a generator, or we're gonna use a smart mask. It doesn't really matter. For this case, I'm gonna use two masks. One is gonna be a moss mask, and one is gonna be a mask that is gonna be used for rust. But for our case here, is going to be also really useful. So it doesn't matter what actually the mask is going to be used for originally, or what is intended to be used for, but the most important thing is the fact that it's going to get the job done. If this is going to be the case, then go for it and you will be just fine. Okay, I'm gonna bring, as you can see, I'm gonna drag and drop the smart mask on top of the black mask, which is gonna be a quick replacement, and is gonna help us to get something that looks interesting to a certain extent. And this actually depends on what we want in the first place. Okay, for now, we're gonna go to Photoshop, as this is the UV template we created in 3ds Max. We were talking about these are some masks or some alphas we're gonna use, and we're gonna use them respectively, and we're gonna just put I just prepared them, and what you're gonna do is just drop them in the right places. Of course there is gonna be some work that you're gonna do, and you're gonna make sure that these layers here are gonna be organized and nice. And if you know what is the name on the tombstone, please tell me on the comment section below. If you know Japanese, you will be able to read it just fine. And please let me know if you know what the name is. I know what it is, but I want you to actually tell me. Okay, for now we're gonna add a fill layer, and we're gonna add a black mask and a fill, and we're gonna actually bring the mask that we actually created in Photoshop. And what you can see here is actually a beautiful result that can be created in Photoshop in a matter of 10 minutes or something, which is gonna add an incredible amount of details that we could have done in a sculpting software, but it could have like ZBrush, but it can take up to half an hour, and it's not gonna be as good. So here I'm changing a little bit. I'm changing the moss effect, and I'm bringing it here to the board or to the stone. That is and this actually is gonna make it look even better and even more realistic, and is gonna give it a feel that it is old and stuff. So if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to our channel if you're new. And yeah, if you feel generous, and if you feel like you can help me create more tutorials, please consider subscribing to my Patreon page and become a Patreon, because this really means a lot to me. And yeah, without further ado, I will let you take a final look, and I will see you in the next one.